Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I'll be reviewing the Jones Flagship. This board is equipped with Jones Snowboard's directional rocker camber profile, and don't be fooled by the name, it is going to be a camber dominant board. So from insert to insert, you're going to have camber. Outside of this front insert, it's going to go to a rocker with the spoon nose, and on the tail pretty much at the battleship back here and back, you're gonna have that rocker as well. So what that's gonna do for you is that camber is gonna give you all of that drive, power, and precision you're looking for, where that rocker is gonna give you ease in and out of turns and nice float in the powder. The Flagship comes in a plethora of sizes from a 151, 154, 156 wide, 158, 159 wide, 161, 162 wide, 164, 165 wide, 167, 169 wide, and a 172 for those linebackers. I rode this board at Copper Mountain where we got about 20 inches of snow the day before. The top of the mountain didn't open, so the day I rode this, it opened and it was amazing. It was that 2 feet of fresh snow up there. It was a little bit heavier, that more spring snow, that far west coast snow if you would, but still nice and pretty much deep all day. Even in those flatter zones, that's where it stayed the best. Once you got up to the top and after a few runs, it got tracked out pretty quick, so you had to shift plans. In the trees though, it was great all day. Everybody stayed out pretty much except for us. On those groomers, they groomed the center line, but that was about it. They kept the sides nice and fresh where you could just cut in and get fresh turns. I used my Ride Fuse boots in Jones Mercury bindings. Flex and stability. When we're talking overall flex on this board, it is coming in at stiffer than the middle of the road. That being said, it has a directional flex to it. So right at the nose here, it's gonna be softer than pretty much anything past this front foot insert and back. Even though there is some rocker in the tail, you really don't feel that. It feels very fluid. When you go to foot steer this thing, you're gonna notice it as well, where it matches that right underfoot flex. It's gonna take a little bit more effort, but it's not gonna try to fight you. Now, going into that stability portion, it is gonna be a stable and damp board because of this wood veneer top sheet. It cuts down on all those micro vibrations, that chatter, even a little bit of chatter that you might feel from this nose kind of wandering because of all that rocker. You don't really feel it too much. The only time I noticed it is when I looked down at the board going about Mach 10. So overall, a nice damp board that is stable. I didn't have any problem in the chunder or in that wet deep snow. It just motored right through. The first thing you realize about this board is you do have a shorter tail on it, so it's really not gonna be the best ollieing board out there. But that being said, there is still some snap to it. Where you load it up, you don't have to really load it up super heavy or anything like that. Just a simple skateboard ollie where you're not shifting all your weight and you'll be in the air. Now when you do take it off of side hits or rollers, feel free to pop or let the lip do the work. It's really up to you. This thing is stable, so you can let that speed carry you in and you'll have no problem. And the same goes for the landing. It is nice and stable on the landing. It definitely wants to float on the nose and sink on the tail. So you land in that fresh, wet powder, you're not gonna really have any problems there. It doesn't really wanna get super edgy or anything like that. So as long as you land on pretty much either both feet or a little bit tail heavy in the fresh snow, you're gonna be just fine. Remember to like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our scheduled programming. Since this board is so directional, it butters in 2 different ways, where when you get on the nose and throw like a 180 into it, you have such that large rocker zone mixed with the spoon, it holds really well. Whether that being you're in that fresh snow or just on a groomer, it's gonna hold you. You have a huge sweet spot on here that pretty much is the Jones logo, so feel free to toy with it a little bit, but you have a huge area to work with that's not gonna pretty much throw you back down or just wash out on you. Now when you butter on the tail, it is less of a sweet spot where it's probably at this Flagship logo, but you can wheelie on this thing. So you can really lean back, especially in that fresh powder, and because that tail is more blunted, it's gonna hold you a little bit better. When you just try to do a normal butter on it, it's not gonna be the best just because of how short that is. Even though there is the rocker in the tail, you don't feel it too much. This board excels when we're talking about carving. where you can go on those short, quick carves, no problem. You can get to those medium and large carves, no problem. The thing is just easy to turn. Because of all this rocker in the nose, it doesn't feel quite as aggressive. You can, as I mentioned, foot steer it. It's gonna take a little bit more, but it really excels on those medium and larger carves. When you can really open it up, take it through those push piles, that chunder, that sort of thing, and it's still gonna hold up for you where you're not getting super bounced around. And yes, it will Euro carve like a dream because of how directional it is. You really don't even have to think about it. Just lay it over, keep those knees bent, and you're all good to go. Rider in mind. This board was designed for that free rider that really likes to take all of the mountain on. They're not venturing in the park too much, but they're gonna go hit those hike twos, they're gonna go to the rock drops, pretty much anything that's in front of them, they wanna take on. They're definitely riding that more technical terrain that they need to be on top of their A game, and they just need a board that's gonna hold up with them. If you're looking for another way to get involved, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. What is it, you ask? Sure, I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there getting into it really in depth. I enjoyed this board. It did catch me off guard the first year I ever rode this thing, where I was told it's gonna be aggressive. It's really not as aggressive as they say. They call it a 7 on their scale. Scales don't matter because now they call it, that's out of 5, so who even knows what they call it because it doesn't matter. But anyway, the main thing on this board is it's not as aggressive as they sell it out to be, where because of that large rocker zone in the nose, it's just easier to ride than honestly a lot of their boards are. If you're that intermediate rider, but you need something to just get out there and ride in any condition, this would be a great board for you. It is a quiver killer, especially if you don't go into the park. Comparable boards, the Yes Pick Your Line Uninc, the Ravine, and the Ride Deepfake. Recommended binding, the Jones Mercury, the Ride C8, and the Union Atlas. This has been my review of the Jones Flagship. If you're looking to pick one up but are unsure of what pair of bindings to put on it, why don't you go check out one of the videos for the recommended bindings.